Hello, everyone. Welcome to EduMatch. So glad to have you all here. It is August 12th, 2018, and we are here tonight to talk about the flipped classroom. Speaking of EduMatch, did you know you could be the featured person of the day? So just sign up on our website, edumatch.org. You'll see a sign up button on the top right-hand side that says sign up. Click on that, fill out the info. You could be the person of the day. We'll tweet out about you over the course of 24 hours. There is a wait. However, if you go to databases and click on Awesome Table of EduMatch, you'll see that there's over 1,000 people who have signed up. So we'll add you to that database soon, I promise. And you can, people will be able to search for you and see if they have matching interests. So definitely want to get everybody all connected. So today we are here to talk one of my favorite topics, flipped classroom. We have an awesome panel and moderator. So we're going to kick things off with introduction. So I'm going to go first to Irene.
Hi, everyone. I'm Irene Bell. I'm located in Baltimore, Maryland. I currently work at Loyola University, Maryland with Sarah as a lecturer in educational technology. And I am a certified pre-K through 12th grade music teacher in both Maryland and South Carolina.
Awesome. Well, welcome back. Glad to have you here once again. All right. Next up, we have Dr. Wendy.
Hey, good afternoon. Good evening, actually. I'm Dr. Wendy Weiner. I'm the founder and principal of Conservatory Prep Schools down here in South Florida. And I'm also a certified social studies teacher, and we do a lot of flip teaching at our school. So I'm really happy that this is the topic tonight.
We are super excited to have you back. So thank you for being back yet again. And now, without any further ado, I'm going to kick things over to our amazing moderator. So Dr. Christel, if you could please just introduce yourself and then jump right into the first question.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I am by day doing something really boring. I'm the chair of a department and doing a lot of bean counting stuff. But in my real life, I'm an educator training teachers, and my special area is second language acquisition, and within that call, computer-assisted language learning. So that's what my passion is, and hopefully we're going to talk a lot about different aspects of FLIP today. And with that, I want to bring up the first question, very, very close to my heart, because I work a lot with English language learners, Title I, children of poverty, and children of various backgrounds that are shortchanged in our classrooms. And my first question is, how can flipped learning empower students with culturally, linguistically, and economically diverse backgrounds? Anybody want to take that?
Sure, I'd be happy to start. At our school, we have a very diverse population. And what I love about flipped classrooms is that if I'm having, usually we have the examples that we're showing in school. And this time I can have the examples to be shown at home. So for example, if we're talking about the Revolutionary War, and actually I'm doing something on the French Revolution, I might want to be able to show Les Miserables, but that might not appeal to half my class. So what I can do with those students is that I don't have to just give them Les Miserables to watch at home. They can watch several different types of movies, or they can read a book. There are several different ways that they can learn about the revolution. But they're going to be doing that on their own time. And then when they're coming to class, then we're going to be really talking about different aspects of the revolution, and they can bring it in all their own examples, which become meaningful to them instead of just meaningful to me. So that's what I love about flipped classroom. It's just that there's so many ways that the kids can really make it their own.
That's exactly at the core of this discussion. Do you have anything, Irene?
Yeah, so I wanted to add off of what Dr. Wendy said about one thing I really love about flipped classroom is that it can get the families involved. And so in my previous 5-8 years of working both in the classroom and outside of the classroom as a district tech coach, we always talked about getting parents and family involved. And the great thing about flipped classroom is a lot of times, especially when you're thinking math and science concepts and very specific content, the parents may no longer know the specifics or how the students should be doing the work. And so by flipping that, the parents also have access and can become involved in their children's learning and support them better. And so I see that a lot with the flipped classrooms with the groups I work with.
That's awesome. And both of these statements apply to English language learners. And for English language learners particularly, we never know what kind of background knowledge they bring to the classroom. And further, on top of that, what kind of linguistic knowledge they bring to the classroom. Let's say you do the French Revolution, maybe they never covered any of these historical eras in prior teaching. They have no concept of even the costumes of the, the kings, of any of this. So if we find good materials in their own home language, in Nepalese, in Spanish, and what other language we have in our classroom, and give them word collections and concepts before, when they come to the lesson, they already can all start from the same playing field, and we kind of leveled the playing field for everybody, right? And also the families can learn with them, as they're maybe sharing materials with their kids. And I really like self-created materials by the teachers too, where they pull together materials and concepts that are important for the students to cover to directly prepare them for the lesson, which guides me right into my next question. How does the teachers role shift in flipped learning? And this is kind of a frustration question, because when my daughter, who is school age, had a lot of teachers studying flipped learning, they started at opening day or orientation day telling us parents, we're going to flip learning. From now on, your kid does all the learning at home and the homework at school. Woo! What do you think about that? Dr. Wendy, what do you think about that?
Well, we do a lot of that. Actually, we tell our kids that you don't have homework. We do everything here at the school. All you have to do at home are the fun things, like watching the videos and reading the stories. And what I find that what they are relieved about is that they don't have to figure out what the directions are. Because so often in the classroom, in a traditional classroom, we might be up lecturing, or we might be showing a video. We're saying to the students, read this article here at school. And then at home, you have all this homework to do. And there are a lot of directions with the homework. And for a lot of my kids, they can't remember what the instructions were, or they're very unclear about it, and so are the parents. So for them to say, oh, I don't have homework, I go to a school where there's no homework, I only have to watch movies or short videos and read books with my family, it seems to work much better.
Yeah, and if it's okay, if I could just jump in really quickly, I've just been like bursting to share. It's like double Dutch, right? But yeah, I love everything that y'all are saying. And just kind of going to your question right now, also tying it in with the first question. The work of the flipped classroom in an ESOL environment is just amazing. I have to say that I know I said I was going to stop talking about this, but I just finished my dissertation like back in October, and thank you. And it was with a student from Haiti who was coming to the United States, and so he created his own video. So he kind of I'll tell you where the flip piece came in, right? So he created his own videos at the beginning of the lesson, or the beginning of the unit, as well as the end of the unit. And I mean, this helped him so much. But the part that I thought was genius is that the teacher told all the students, if your video is good, I'm going to play it for other kids next year. And I was just like, wow, like how amazing is that? How engaged are those kids to make something, because they know that their legacy is going to live on. So, okay, I feel relieved. The pressure is over.
And then you switch from flipped learning to project-based learning and assessment, all the same in one instant, right?
Yeah, totally. That was a very smart thing to do.
That was a good lead into me. Thank you, Sarah. I think in the scenario that you presented, Christel, I don't think the teachers really did justice of what's really going to be happening with the homework being done at school and the classwork being done at home, because it's not, flipped learning is not, oh, where you're just going to now be learning all the content at home and just be doing the like activity, the worksheets and activities and more direct things, like Dr. Wendy said, at school. It's more the whole, everything shifts. And I think as the teachers presenting it to parents, it needs to be kind of, well, so parents need to learn what it is. So because parents coming in, they know school how they went to school. So they went to school and they learned the content through that lecture-based kind of way. And then they went home and did homework every night. They may have had parents that helped them, may not. But so having the students in this flipped classroom, teachers really need to talk about the learner-to-learner engagement that's going to be happening, that project-based learning if they're pulling those in, the types of activities that they'll be doing at home, like watching the videos, or the expectations away from the classroom, and then what is changing inside of the classroom. And going to your question on what the teacher's role, how does it shift? The teacher is no longer the, we've been talking a lot about this in my classes, is no longer the keeper of the knowledge. And we're seeing that shift in other ways more than just flipped classroom, but the classroom itself is now becoming a collaborative community where it's not, here's all the information you need to learn, now go practice it on your own time. But we're actually digging into the content in class. And if you need more support or more help, or we didn't quite get to this, now you learn it at home and you come back and we continue applying it in that face-to-face.
Yeah, there's so many pieces of wisdom in our conversation here that I'm hearing from all of you. And, you know, in the case of my daughter's teachers, they actually literally, they would not do lesson plans anymore. They would give kids Khan Academy videos that were canned online. They would just give them websites. And in the classroom, the kids would sitting side by side and independently and quietly do their homework. And they were not kidding about this. It's how they taught. And guess what the kids were saying? They hated it because they had to figure out all the content themselves at home. It's one thing to help the kids figure out something by giving them carefully prepared and carefully curated resources, or it's another one to throw algebra videos at you without any guidance and then say, do your homework at school. So evidently that doesn't work, you know, and flipped classrooms don't work like this. And today people understand more that this is not what it means, but some teachers still do it that way, you know. And as far as like for our English language learners, one of the little tips I want to throw out is for preparing them for the content lessons, find resource materials in their own home languages. And the one thing where Google Translate works really well is when you use academic terminology and translate it like life cycle or something, and use it and translate it in Creole or like from Haiti, you know. Then you find the ideal titles, and then you can look them up on YouTube and find the videos that conform to that, and can give them to the students at home so they can acquire the background knowledge in their own language, link to what they already know, and then stretch to the next level and apply that in English. And that is really a good segue to talking about what is the most understood issue about flipped learning. Anybody, ladies? Dr. Wendy, Dr. Sarah?
I think one of the things that are misunderstood is that it's really not supposed to be that the teacher was just, hey, I'm learning it all on my own at home, and I come back and just do the worksheets. You know, we don't see that as that's the purpose of it. We do a lot of problem-based and a lot of project-based learning. Yeah. So what I want them to do at home is, you know, I want them to be engaged in the movies and books and so forth, so they can bring in their own experiences and get an understanding of the concepts. But I think it's for the teacher, when they bring it back at the school, to be able to say, great, I'm so glad that you all have this knowledge now. Now, how do we use it? How do we apply it to something else, to a project, to another problem? Maybe it's going to be that they're going to be doing a debate and they're each going to take a different person, you know, that they studied, and they're going to bring this to the table. So it's really up to the teacher to bring this all in. But, you know, I think without the explanation to the parents, they're really not quite sure. Like, they don't really understand what this is all about.
That's true, because they think nobody's really teaching my kids. They cannot imagine
Right.
that you construct the knowledge. And the word I want to throw out here is social constructivism, socially created constructive learning. And we all know that is the only one researched philosophy of teaching that actually has shown that it works. And yet so many people don't use it. And flipped classrooms also help us to engage in the classroom on much higher level of Bloom's taxonomy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we can outsource the low level activities to the home, and we all hit the ground running on the same high level.
Right.
Which allows us project based. And so Miss Irene.
Miss Irene. I'm not as fancy as y'all yet. Yeah, and I wanted to jump off of with some of the misunderstood pieces of flipped learning is, I think a lot of teachers, I've worked with a lot of teachers in getting into flipped learning, and they say, I want to do flipped learning. And it's not less work. A lot of educators think, oh, it's just going to be less work. Like, I'm not teaching.
No lesson plans.
No lesson plans. I'm not teaching. Well, you're still teaching. You're now teaching in a very different environment. And so that brings me, I had 3 total. It doesn't all have to be videos. So when you go home, I've had teachers that they said, oh, I wanted to flip my whole classroom, but I've only done this one unit because I just can't create any more videos. I'm so tired. I'm overworking it. I'm like, it doesn't always have to be videos, and it doesn't always have to be stuff that you create. You can find, like you brought up Khan Academy. Khan Academy has some great stuff in there. Now, should you use it for everything? Probably not, but finding the good pieces and implementing it is one less thing for you to have to create. And I think those are big things that when teachers start talking flipped classroom, we start really talking about facilitating asynchronous learning, because that's really what it is. I mean, you know, it's this fancy package. It's for K-12, but it's, you know, what do learners need when they are learning away from you? And it's that gets into those kind of directions, and, you know, it's more than just this like 2-hour movie, or, you know, but it gets into choice as well. So, like, you know, you need to know your learners, like we were talking about, and then knowing what tools they need. So if they need that Google Translate tool, ensuring that they have the skills to be able to utilize it away from you, or their parents can help them, is a whole nother piece of the puzzle. Which
adds the whole level of digital literacy to our learning, and oftentimes overlooked. And I just wanted to also throw out that I do a lot of training and work in countries outside of the United States, and particularly in countries with very, very low resources. And I'm just mentioning Venezuela. I was twice in Venezuela 2 years ago. In 1 year, I was there twice during the unrest and during all the stuff going on. And I taught cohorts of people from all over the country how to use flipped classroom principles in their environments. And you better believe that they have no fancy video resources and fancy all of, you know, internet even, you know. And we discussed how you can implement flipped classroom without even digital possibilities, you know, using even paper and pencil, you know. And it's possible too. If you just put your mind to it and you find the libraries and you find ways of providing materials, you can do it in low resource environments too, you know. Not every place is like here.
And speaking of those types of communities, the flipped classroom really lends well to students that may be gone for an extended period of time or gone for a few days due to any number of reasons. Yes. And so even looking in the US at like our homeschool and the students that may have to, you know, do school outside of school, and they usually have some kind of resource teacher that is able to pull all the things. Flipping your classroom will support those students very easily.
Well, weather days. We had Kentucky usually is a very warm state, but last winter we had the highest snow and ice days ever. You know, and people didn't go to school for great lengths of time. Why does everything have to stop? Why can they not do something during that time? The kids are bored.
So there was an article in South Carolina. There's a school district that is doing flipped snow days this coming year, where they decided that they're going to try to flip the learning for the snow days, and I'm excited to see how it goes.
And the Carolinas are probably not the state with the highest snow days, but at least somebody's starting it, right?
Maybe we should do that with hurricane days down here.
Yeah, I think that's what I thought was. I came from South Carolina. I thought with hurricane days for sure.
Yeah. So, thank you for these awesome ideas. And so the last question that we had on our official agenda here today is, what are some strategies of success for flipped learning teachers?
I guess oh, go ahead.
Dr. Sierra, go.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My computer cut out for a second, but yeah. So, I love what you were saying about the different resources that may or may not be available, and how you brought up the example of Venezuela. And I know also, a lot of times here, then, students have different access to devices, to the internet, to high quality internet, to like exclusive use of devices. So there's a lot of questions that come into play. So I think that to facilitate the success, then there are many questions that we can ask that can, that, like you said, think outside of the box, and there's ways to make it work. Like, for example, downloading it onto CDs or DVDs, I'm sorry, for students. Or also, opening up the classroom, like during different periods of the day, so students can watch it within the school building. There's libraries that check out hotspots, and that can help the whole family.
I mean, when I was a teacher, I was really bold. Okay, so I always went to businesses and said, I need this, I need this, I need this. So today I may go to McDonald's and say, can you reserve one section of your McDonald's or any fast food place so kids can use a hotspot, even if they don't purchase something, stuff like that. Just finding ways to connect the kids.
Yeah, I think there's a place in Virginia that does something similar to that, not too far away from me. I heard about them partnering with local organizations to try to secure hotspots and access for kids. Definitely. But I think like that checking out the mobile hotspots, like that can help the whole family. So I'm a huge fan of that.
Idea.
And one of the things I always tell my students in my technology courses is, everybody is connected in some kind of social circle. For some people it's faith groups, for some people it's civic groups, whatever it is. Put out a call and say, give me all your old devices that you're not using anymore, the iPhone 3, the iPhone 4, because each one of them are a little computer, and if kids don't have access to devices, at least we can hook them up with things that get you like $15 on the market if you sell them, right? And so for us, for many of our people around us, it's not a lot of money to give away, but for the kids, it may be that one access to technology, in my opinion. So, but what are some strategies? What do you think, specific strategies that we can use in the classroom?
I'd like to connect everything that we do to real world experiences. And I think that this is a great way for the teacher to be able to provide that for the students. And so what I do is try and provide them with a lot of different resources. So when you were speaking before, Ariane, about like, this isn't so easy. This isn't just a walk in the park and, oh, I'm going to go into my room. We're going to do flip, classroom. It's going to be easy. It takes a lot of time to find all these resources and to think about the different students and which, students would like what. And I don't have to assign it to each of them. I just can give them, a list of, you can watch any one of these films, you can do any one of these writings, you can read any one of these books, and you're going to fulfill the requirement to be able to come back into the classroom to be able to discuss. So I think providing them with a lot of different resources and not just telling the kids, Google and find your own.
Yeah. And if we ask them to Google, we need to train them first on how to be effective researchers too.
Yes.
So my strategies for success are less classroom specific and more global. you need to, we already spoke about parents, but getting, teaching parents in that parent-teacher meeting or sending information on what's happening in your classroom will lead to better success. And again, we had already talked about the parents may not understand what it is, even if they are an educator or an administrator in a school, because they know what school looks like. Everyone went to school at one point, so they know what school looks like. And if you're changing what that schooling looks like, they may not understand how it would work with their child. And depending on the age of your children, your child may not be able to say, I have to do this. Is, you know, this movie is part of my homework. Right. You know, if you get, the younger you get, the more the parents gonna be like, no, it's not. No, it's, you know, and
you need to do your homework.
Yes.
Don't do screen time.
So the screen time. The other suggestion I have is make sure your administration's on board. I have heard horror stories about teachers flipping their sub days and then getting in a lot of trouble because they don't have sub plans, because the students can't access the devices, with the sub's not comfortable with the students taking off the devices or doing things like that. And so ensuring that your administration knows what you're doing as well, that they understand what flipped learning looks like, that if a parent calls them and is questioning what's happening in your classroom, that they're able to speak on it and not just, you know, kind of, you know, hit from the side of like, what are they doing? I'm not quite sure what that is. That will really support your initiative in implementing it in your classroom.
And I think, thank you so much for giving these great ideas. It reminds me a lot of in my early years when I earned my doctorate, and I modeled I was a teaching assistant, and I modeled to my education students how to teach in constructivist ways, right? So I taught a 3-hour lesson completely in German to education students who had no background at all whatsoever in German. And when I say teaching, I mean like they did activities, but I was not standing in front of them lecturing them. But I had jigsaw activities and table activities and what else? You know, this was before technology was used. And afterwards they said, this is really funny because you didn't teach us anything, but it was so much fun. You know, and I think today with flipped classroom, it's kind of in the same way. Students and parents and administrators still think you didn't actually teach us anything because, like you said, you know, they're thinking in this 19th century lecture model, students receiving model, and they cannot see that learning takes place in so many other different ways. You know, even though teaching standards, ISTE standards and other standards reflect that, but administrators still don't have it. And the best way is to, like you said, you know, to inform everybody about what you're doing, that there's a theoretical foundation for it. You don't pull it out of thin air. You're presenting professional best practice that has been researched. And it's not your personal opinion. You're speaking with a professional voice as a teacher. And also communicate this to the parents in better ways than my daughter's teachers did it with me, where they said, yoo-hoo, no lesson plans anymore for me. Your kid does all the work by themselves. That does not help with parents, right? So like you said, you know, make sure the parents understand and are on board, you know, and maybe pulling the parents in the activities, you know, and asking the parents to contribute something. And especially with the English language learners, a lot of the families have very low education background and very low literacy background. So when they look at content in Spanish, for instance, at home, the parents are learning new things too that help them to become more educated too, right? And so I see so many benefits in this that are much exceeding our classroom. So anybody else having any good ideas that we should mention? No?
I would say the one thing I've been more recently working with teachers on is ensuring that their resources are accessible and for their learners. And so, and ensuring that whatever they're taking home is explicit enough for the students to understand, especially the first couple of weeks, because that's if your students are coming back every day not knowing how they were supposed to do it or what they were supposed to do, then your initiative is going to not go very well, because you're going to have to be teaching that stuff almost every day, and then your students will get into the idea of, well, I don't need to do it because she just does it again.
Well, there's a certain literacy involved that needs to be acquired on all ends, you know, for flipped instruction literacy for the student, flipped literacy for the parents, and especially for the teacher who do it, you know, who themselves often are not explicit or able to give very, very explicit instructions. Because when we observe teachers in schools, many times that's where everything falls flat on the face. When the teachers give instructions so quickly, and they think, well, I said it, but why aren't people doing it? You know, but intake, that input doesn't mean intake, right?
If I could just add, one other benefit that we always see is that the teachers have an opportunity to work through the process with the students. So the writing assignment wouldn't be at home. The writing assignment's going to be in the classroom, you know, with the teacher there, you know, assisting and seeing how the student's doing. Instead of doing the math problems at home, they're doing the math problems in school. And when they're having difficulty, instead of asking mom and dad, who may or may not know how to do it, they have the teacher right there and saying, you know, I watched this on the video last night and I'm still having some problems with it. And we find, you know, it's much, much more effective. And the frustration is a lot less when the kids can do this work, the processing work at school rather than at home.
And the teacher has a much better idea whether or not they need to reteach something overall or individually. And you know, many times that's not happening in the regular classrooms because we don't know who did the work, you know. That's so true. Well, you guys are all awesome and you have wonderful contributions. I wish I could sit here for hours, but Dr. Sarah, where are we going from here?
Okay, well, I wanted to thank you all for such a great discussion. Lots of great points being made, lots of great food for thought. So thank you so much for that. Just wanted to give some quick shout outs before we close. So shout out to the EduMatch authors that are that have been releasing books lately. So we've had Dean Gainey, Journey to the YNU, Brian Costello with The Teacher's Journey, Mandy Freilich with The Fire Within. Coming up on the 29th of this month, Dr. Sam Fetches is going to drop EduMagic, a guide for pre-service teachers. And in addition, we have some other great books coming up. So we have the EduMatch Maker book that's coming out October 23rd. And then in November, look for Mandy Freilich. She's going to be dropping her second book. And last but not least, as a tradition, EduSnap 18 will be coming out at the end of December. We have more great stuff coming for you in 2019. So with all that being said, I just wanted to take a second. Thank you all again so much for this great, great conversation. Thank you to everyone who will be watching or tuning in later. Definitely tweet out your thoughts with hashtag EduMatch. And also shout out to the community, the online committee. So you'll be seeing a new face and some new initiatives going on through our online committee soon, as well as a lot of other changes in EduMatch. So stay tuned for that. So next week we will be back, same bad time, same bad channel. Mandy Freilich will be talking about teacher engagement. So come back 6 p.m. Eastern. If you want to be on panel, podcast with an s.edumatch.org/sign up, or if you want to watch podcast.edumatch.org/tweet talk. So, all right, everyone, have a great evening and a great week.